Everything's under control. Sorry, folks.
And next question comes from our buddy Theme Park Casual. And Theme Park Casual is asking, how would you revamp the AP Magic Key system to balance the need for access while, quote, giving once-in-a-lifetime, unquote, visitors a good experience and still keeping it profitable for the company? What do you think about this, Dre? This is a really tough kind of balancing act that Disney has to kind of do here, I think.
Well, for longtime viewers of the show, I think we have talked about how we would change the Magic Key system and how we would, this kind of one-size-fits-all solution that they have right now might not be the wisest course of action. And then just separating it by certain perks and, some days and whatever, windows. I think, first of all, I think the biggest thing that would change everything, and I think, OG, you would agree with me on this, gotta get rid of those monthly payments. The monthly payments has really ballooned many of these systems out to just unbelievable proportions because the level of access is so much higher, with that. That, I think, really needs to change. And it's interesting, even when they suspended sales of the Magic Key program, what they have ticket offers and so forth, and it's like, I think the company does want to go in that direction, but they're doing everything else but actually getting rid of the annual pass holder monthly payment system in order to do it. I think they do want to limit how many people get access to APs and so forth, but the one big thing they're just completely against removing, which is the monthly payment system. So I think that needs to change entirely. Maybe I think, OG, I think we talked about it, how, hey, if you didn't want to have a monthly payment system, maybe putting down a lot more upfront might be a way to kind of wean into that a little bit, and I would agree with that. Maybe having a point-based system rather than a day system might be better. So that, because obviously for theme park tickets, there is a variable pricing model. Well, shouldn't there be a variable day model in the form of the Magic Key system where maybe Saturdays are worth a little bit more than maybe your average Wednesday and so forth? Couldn't we have that done via a points-based system? I think we could. And I think that one change would also kind of affect how all these things shake out. I think there are different ways of doing it, and I'm having trouble remembering what those ways actually were. But I think in previous shows we have answered this question, and I think there are a number of changes that you can institute.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, you really want to have, I think, a good mix. You really want to find that Goldilocks kind of sweet spot, Right. Because I think that I know a lot of fans, they want to be like, oh, let's just go back to how it was before. But that didn't work either, because there were years and years and years. I remember like reading Mice Age articles from like 10, 12 years ago about how fans were so upset. The parks were so congested, you couldn't even walk. And how Disney really wanted to revamp this AP program because there were just too many annual pass holders. There's 1 million+ people in the system. Sure. So obviously you can't sustain that, and you're pushing other visitors out. You have, like I've said many times, these once-in-a-lifetime visitors, and Casual mentions it here, where, from like Japan or Sweden or Australia, who are going that one time, and then you have like all these like Magic Key people in the park that are on their third visit this week, right? It's just they have to figure out a balance here. Like, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, you still want to have a local contingent here where you have the locals, right? But you also don't want to have the locals kind of run roughshod over everybody else too. So there has to be a more, they got to bring kind of balance to the force, so to speak, where, when you're an out of towner, you can go and have a good time. And then also the Magic Keys can have a reasonable amount of access as well. And that's not an easy thing to kind of balance, but they're going to have to figure that out. And I think that getting rid of the monthly payment program would be a very good start. because I think putting $1,400 up front would be very difficult for most people. And I know I sound like a real like kind of douchebag saying that, but like it's just the reality of life, right? Like,
yeah.
Hey, I want a Ferrari, but I can't afford it. It's just the way it is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just the way it is. So sometimes there are going to be people that just can't afford that. And that's just the way it is. But Disney has to address it. Like they have to manage these crowds and have to make sure that people from all walks of life, whether you're a local, whether you're an out of towner, whether you're from out of country, gets a fair shake at these parks too. Yep. And that's going to price some people out. And that's just the way it's going to be, unfortunately. You know, believe me, in a perfect world, I wish everybody could enjoy Disney parks. I love Disneyland. I want everyone to experience this incredible place. Yeah. But we live in the real world where there's like real physical limitations to this stuff. And we have to address that and be realistic. You know, we just do.
Like we said before on this show, you know, it's the triangle. It's the access, price, and crowds. Which one do you want? You can only have two. You can't have all of them. There's no world in which, unless supply is completely, you know, infinite, which it's not, you really have to pick, you know, between two of them. And that's just the hard reality of the situation, you know. And as I was thinking back, you know, it was coming to mind what solutions could be implemented, you know. Definitely have to incentivize, you know, local visitation. I think more than maybe they do now. I'm sorry, domestic and international tourist visitation more than they do now. I think they incentivize locals maybe a little bit too much, and I think the real money is made for people who are flying in and stuff like that. So maybe a repurchasation there. The big thing, I think, what really hurts right now is the squatting thing, where you'll have a lot of Magic Keys, make reservations for days, understanding that they likely won't be there for them, but just to have them in case they are. Right. That really, I think, needs to change in a substantial way. One idea that I heard was, you know, maybe doing it where, you have to put money down on days, and then you get, obviously a refund as soon as you walk in, but within 72 hours you have to make that decision. Maybe having the ability, I know this is kind of conflicting with the previous one, but maybe I understand you have to cancel the day before in order so that you don't get penalized, but maybe either moving that out or moving that up to before the park opens. Maybe like 7:59, you have to have, you have to really be clear about what you do. That way, it at least gives a chance for day of visitation. Maybe we don't schedule these things out by the day. Maybe it's like, hey, after like 6 p.m., you can try again with a new slot of reservations or something past 8 or something, where you don't have to necessarily cancel somebody's visitation for the entire day. Maybe like there's a new block of reservations that open up past a certain point that doesn't take away somebody else's ability to make a reservation that day, whether it be ticket holder or otherwise. So there's little ideas that you can implement that wouldn't, I don't think, necessitate its own kind of level of overhead, right? Or increased levels of overhead. I don't think it would necessitate more management on their part, but just little things I think they could do that would really improve the situation for everybody involved.
Yeah, and I'm sure Disney's got a team of people working on that right now, because they're obviously trying to reimagine this program before the renewals hit. Mm-hmm. And it's in their best interest to do so. Number one, because of that class action lawsuit. Right. But number two, most key holders are not happy with the current system. So if you were to just roll out the same system for renewal, a lot of people wouldn't do it. So they're going to have to incentivize these people to renew. And the best way to do that is to rematch the program and make it more appealing, more attractive, so they do in fact renew. So it's very, very interesting. And I do not envy Disney at all. This is not an easy thing to do. And this has been a conversation within the Disney Parks community for years. I'm telling you, a lot of fans want to say, oh, it's just JPEG. It's not JPEG. I remember reading articles, like I said, in Mice Age from 2010 and 2011 about the annual pass situation and the congestion and all this stuff. This has been an ongoing thing. And I think right now they have a real opportunity to kind of get it right. And they kind of rushed it and they botched it the last time when they rolled out MagicKey. This time they should take a little bit of time, really think it through, and really give us something that works for everybody. So we'll see what happens. But Casual, as always, man, fantastic questions.
In Sector 2. Malfunction in Sector 2. All droids will be shut down for reloading of labor programs. Stand by for power disconnect.